Hey guys, it's Raven, the Wild Witch, and welcome to another edition of The Witch's Inn. This time I'm also broadcasting in the Wild Academy page, so hopefully we'll get a few more people to join us this way. So anyway, welcome. If you have never been to this event before, I normally come in once a week. And for 30 minutes, we pick a topic and we discuss it. And so the topic that I picked for today is something that I get a lot from a lot of my clients that come in is how do I find purpose? How do I know what my purpose in life actually is? How do I know which direction I'm supposed to go? And how does that process begin? And how do I go through that process, right? So this is not an easy process. So let me just first of all say that there's no easy solution. There's no way that you can say, oh, I took a test and voila, purpose is found. So it doesn't really work that way. Finding purpose is kind of combined with a process of self-discovery. So as you start kind of doing your inner work and diving deep into yourself, purpose will begin to appear, where you'll begin to understand and know where it is that you need to go and what it is that you need to do. So there's quite a few things that you can do to kind of jumpstart that process. So the first thing that I always say to people is, think about this. If you could do anything you wanted in the world and it didn't involve, you didn't have to worry about money, you didn't have to worry about what anybody else said, family, friends, what have you. You were just free to do whatever it is that your heart desires, wherever your heart takes you. What would that be? And so that is always a great starting point, because that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be your purpose, but that's a great place for you to start and start doing something. So for example, if you say, well, my purpose is to, help people, lift people out of poverty, right? So that is a big, giant purpose. So what I would say is start looking into local programs where you can go in and you can help the homeless. You can help people who are in poverty. So programs like, a food bank or things like that, where you can maybe donate of your time once a week. And then you start with that and connect with it and then say, then you're going to get the feeling of, is this what I really want to do? Or is this not what I really want to do? And then look for things in that field that you really are interested in, that you can do, and do a little bit at a time, and then kind of try that on, like take that for a ride to see if you really connect with it. Because just because it's something that for you may seem very appealing right now and you may be very interested in doing, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what your purpose is going to be. So you think about a purpose and then say, okay, I'm going to go and take that purpose for a test drive. I'm going to see now if how this resonates with me. And let's say volunteering at a food bank didn't work. Well, maybe you go volunteer somewhere where they bring clothes out to the needy, or you can volunteer in a homeless shelter, or you can volunteer in a food bank, or you can, there's so many different things that you can do, right? And then you can try those things on and see if they feed your purpose. And if they don't feed your purpose, then you say, okay, that wasn't it. Let me try something else. So that's a great place for you to get started. The second thing that you need to do is really connect with yourself. And I tell this to just about every single client that comes to see me for a reading is, do the getting to know you process is the same way that you would use the same process you use for yourself, you would use to meet another person. So let's say you say, okay, well, I would like to go ahead and meet new people, and I would like to, how do you get to know a new person? Go out for coffee with them, go out to dinner with them, meet them for a movie. This process of talking to them, of getting to know them, this is the same process for yourself. So take yourself out to do the things that you enjoy doing. So let's say you're really crafty, and maybe your getting to know process is going on one of those, wine and paint nights, or maybe your part of your getting to know you process is going to one of those pottery places where you can make pottery, or a place that you can make any kinds of crafts. And if that's not it, if maybe your happy place getting to know you is, all right, I like to be out in nature, then find a local group that you can go hiking with, or just take your dog and go into nature. And then you go through that process to figure out what are the things that you really like and what are the things that really don't appeal to you. And those things will change as we grow and change and mature as people. So this is the example I always give to folks that are sitting across from me when I'm doing a reading. When I was younger, in my early 20s or so, a big treat for me, something that I really loved, was go spend a day at a spa. That to me was like ultimate, right? So I would go to the spa and spend my time there. And that was like, if I ever worked really hard or got a bonus or anything like that, where I'm going to treat myself to something, that would be the treat. It would be putting that out there. So I did that for a long time. And then, life got in the way and I started my own business, which means that I didn't have all the extra funds that I had before to go to a spa. And so things changed. So the minute that I started doing better and I thought, I'm going to treat myself, what did I do? I booked a day at the spa and I went to the spa because that is what I really enjoyed. I get to the spa and I spent the day there, but it wasn't my jam anymore. I mean, having a day at the spa, I mean, it's okay, but it's not something that I consider like a big treat for myself, right? So those are the things. So then you have to go back into process and say, okay, what are the things now that I enjoy? And this is where the getting to know you process happens. I enjoy rocks. Maybe I'm going to go on a place, I'm going to go mining, or I enjoy being by the water, being on a boat, or I enjoy playing golf, or I enjoy, and you may find that the things that you enjoyed earlier on are not the things that you enjoy now. So then connecting with yourself again and finding, okay, what appeals to me now? What is the thing right now that I can do that makes me feel calm and relaxed and helps me to just feel good about myself? What are the things that you can do for that? For me right now, it turns out it's cooking. I enjoy cooking a lot, which I didn't really a lot in my younger years. But for me, I can go out and I can spend a whole day at home making different things and trying different things. And to me, cooking is kind of like a little bit of alchemy. You put all the ingredients together and you're creating something new, kind of like magic in the kitchen. But so find out what that is for you. So just because you enjoyed something 10, 15 years ago doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy it now. So that is the second place that you get started, right? Getting to know you process. This is the second thing that you do. And then the next thing that you can do to kind of start finding your purpose is think about all of the things that you've done in the past, all of the jobs you've done in the past. Has there been something that really calls out to you? And if it does, what was it? Try that again. If it doesn't, and you don't have to try it as a work thing, you can try it as find an organization that volunteers that. So you can be a volunteer for a day and do it. And so try that and see how that works. And that's kind of how you're going to find part of your purpose as well. Excuse me. I have a frog in my throat. So that's how you're going to find your purpose as well. So there's a lot of the finding purpose it's not an exact science. It is not an easy or fast process, but it is something that is extremely rewarding if you stick to it. And the getting to know you part, excuse me, the getting to know yourself part is crucial to that process. Understanding where you are in life and what it is that you want to do. How do you want, does the joy for you come from doing something by yourself, or does it come from doing something with others? That is something that's important to know. And then once you find your purpose, you find that little, when you find it, you're going to know, because you start doing it and then you're going to be like, oh my God, this is it. It's just going to immediately click. And then you're going to be, this is it. This is what I need to do. Now, does it mean that you need to do that for work? No, because putting food on your table and having purpose are not necessarily going to go hand in hand. If you can do both, fantastic. That is the dream of everyone. But most people can't. Most people you have your 9 to 5 that's going to put food on the table, and then you're going to have your other work, your other thing that is going to really feed your soul. So those are going to be two separate things. And don't mistake that. And the reason why I say that is because I've seen a lot of people start doing something and they say, oh my God, this is what I want to do, and this feeds my soul. And they go full on into it. They quit their job and they immediately go into this other thing. And then they either don't succeed at it, or they realize a year into it that that's not really what they want to do. And now they've lost their previous job. So it's always important to test it out and ease into it and see how well that connects for you. So for example, I know that a big part of my purpose is teaching and guiding people. That is what I do. And I discovered that actually in the business world, When I started, I was in a technology field, and it was my job. I was a telecommunications engineer, and it was my job to train new people coming in. When we had a new piece of equipment that came out, I had to train people on how to use it, how to troubleshoot it. And in this whole process of training people and helping them to understand things, that is where I was like, my God, I could do this every day. I didn't quit my job and go to become a teacher, because that was not the right decision at the time. So I eased into it and said, how can I take this thing that I love? Is this my purpose or not? First of all, that's the question you have to answer. And if just because you love it doesn't mean that it is your purpose. But then second, you say, okay, how can I now start easing into this and moving into the direction that I want to move into? I can tell you right now that teaching in high school, middle school, college, not interesting to me. That is not the kind of teaching that I want to do. But it's more about guiding people in their path, helping people connect with themselves and finding their self-discovery. But I wouldn't know that had I just quit my job and jumped into teaching. Like, I'm going to go to school for education now, and this is what I'm going to do. That's not how purpose works. It's very nuanced. So for your purpose may be very specific. Let's say you want to be able to help people in poverty. And maybe you start doing that and you say, well, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do this. And food is not really what I want to do. And so maybe what you really want to do is say, I want to work with water. I want to make sure that people have access to clean water. And as you start all the different things that you do and you realize, yep, I still want to help people, but not that, not that, not that, not that. And then you're going to find the one thing that is really the thing for you. And then the other thing is also talk to your spiritual team and ask them and rope them in and say, I really want to start walking in purpose. And how is it that I can do that? How can I want to discover what my purpose is, and I don't know. Can you guys help me? Can you help me to, get into the right mindset to discover that? And they will generally help you with that. But the biggest part of it is the self-discovery, because if you don't know yourself, then there is no way for you to know what your place in the world is. And what purpose does for us, it's not supposed to just make you happy and enrich your life. It's something that, although it does do that, don't get me wrong, but it's something that all of a sudden, when you're walking in your purpose, everything clicks and you know your place in the world. You go, oh, this is my thing. This is where I belong. This is what I need to do. And then the minute you click into that and you know that that's your place, then you're like, okay, now you can start, moving forward in that path. So, and people's purposes are very different. And a lot of times people confuse role with purpose, right? So let's say you are a mother, you are a wife, you are a daughter, you are a sister, and maybe you enjoy, maybe family is really important to you. Could that be your purpose? Yes, it could. But chances are your purpose is more specific than that. So let's say your purpose becomes caregiving, right? So then what is it that you're going to do? You're always going to be the person that is taking care of the sick relative, has your mother-in-law move in with you to take care of them. And it's not a chore for you. For you, it's something that brings you joy and happiness, that you can take care of this person and do this for this person. Maybe that's what your purpose is. But just being a mom is not a purpose. Being a sister is not a purpose. Being, a daughter is not a purpose. It could be part of who you are as a person, but that individual thing is not aligned with purpose. Purpose is bigger than that. It's a broader spectrum of what it is that you can do. So being a daughter, what does it mean to be a daughter, right? I want to be the best daughter I can be. Great. That's great. But that is not necessarily purpose. What does it mean to you to be the best daughter you can be? What does that look like? And then what are the things in that you're looking at that really bring you joy? Maybe it's not just being a daughter. Maybe it's saying, supporting my parents, supporting those who maybe can't support themselves anymore. Maybe that's purpose. So that means not just supporting my parents, but maybe that means working with the elderly. That means working with the disabled. That means doing all kinds of things like that. So purpose is a tricky thing for you to find. And here's the other part that can be very, very difficult sometimes, is because your purpose can change as you grow as a person, right? So sometimes your place in the world, as you start off and you're here and you say, okay, this is where I belong. And as you start working through it, you go, okay, well, now I've kind of done this. and I'm ready to graduate to the next level. And then you're going to say, okay, what is my purpose now? It may be just something that is kind of like the next level of what you're already doing, or maybe something in a completely different direction. But we, a lot of times, our place in the world changes because we are not static. As people, we are going to grow, we are going to change, we are going to, if you're doing your work. If you're not doing your work, chances are you're static. But if you're doing your work, you're going to grow, you're going to change, you're going to become, different for this and for that. And just the same way that our priorities change over time, that are the things that we find joy in change over time, the things that bring us peace changes over time, our purpose may be changing over time. So, and what I've seen a lot of, and I really hope that that people don't do this, because it really tends to be a train wreck when they do, is ego cannot factor into that. So I see that a lot where people say, oh, my purpose is I want to be a Reiki healer. And I know that that's my purpose. Is it your purpose or is it your ego? Right? So step back for a minute and understand, what is it? What is that truly your purpose before you step into it? Because if you're coming into purpose from a place of ego, you're not walking your purpose, because your purpose should be something that comes naturally and fulfills you naturally. It shouldn't be something that you need, that kind of fills that desire and drive for people to see you in a certain way, for you to appear in a certain way in the world. When you find your purpose, that click that happens is an internal click. It's not an external click. It doesn't matter what people say or do about you. It doesn't matter if people recognize you for doing this work, right? Ego craves recognition. That is what craves the recognition. Purpose does not. Purpose feeds the soul, and there's no ego involved in that. So if you are saying, okay, I want to be a Reiki person, and I want to have lots of clients, and I want to be part of the whole Reiki community and all that, that's great. That could be a goal that you have. It could be, it's like a job, right? You could definitely do that, and that can be part of what you want to do. But that doesn't necessarily translate into purpose. That's something you want, but that may not necessarily be the purpose that you have. And a lot of people mistake that. So what ends up happening when you mistake that is you go into it and you're like, oh, this is my purpose, I'm all into this. And you do it for a little bit, for a few years, 3, 4, 5 years. And then you go, I don't want to do this anymore. And you move on to find your new purpose, right? And what happens at that point is that it's just the same way that you have a job, right? You get a new job, you're excited. You get the job in that company you've always wanted to work for. You're super excited. You're like, yes, this is the job I want to have. You go in, you start working, 5 years into it, the bloom's off the rose, right? That excitement is gone. And the reason why, what fed you through this whole time that you were working, is not that the work was feeding your soul, is that your excitement was feeding your ego. And so you're excited, everything's going great. And then after a while, when the excitement dies down, all of a sudden that thing doesn't really feed you anymore. And so those are the differences that we have to look at when we're looking at that. The process for finding purpose is inner work. There are no shortcuts. There is no in between. There is nothing. Really doing the inner work. And inner work is something you never finish doing, right? I am still doing. I catch myself sometimes with my ego rearing its ugly head and going, haha, we're going to do this. And then I have to go, oh, wait a minute. That's not me. Well, it is me, but that's not the best part of me. I need to bring that in a little bit, because we're all of us, every single one of us is going to have that. We're going to have that issue going in one way or another. So it's important that you understand, when are you doing something that truly is in line with you spiritually, mentally, emotionally? And when are you doing something that is feeding your ego, your desire, all of that? Those are two very different things. But when you're first starting out, they can seem one and the same, because that excitement that comes in can easily masquerade as something that is going to bring you purpose, that is going to that you can look like this is the thing for you, but sometimes it's not. So inner work is what you have to do constantly. And part of the inner work, when you do your inner work, is putting your ego in check and saying to ego, it would be great. Yes, I would love to be a celebrity. Actually, I wouldn't. But for some people, I would love to be a celebrity, and I would love to be recognized worldwide. And I would love to have all this money and all this. Is that my purpose? Chances are no. That's your ego talking, saying, these are all the things that I want. But maybe if you get up in the morning and let's say your purpose is you love to garden. This is the thing that you go out in your garden and you could sleep there. You could spend all day there. And after a while, you start realizing that that is something that nobody is going to say to you, oh, look, she's a gardener. Hooray for her. Nobody, you don't need to be recognized for that. You don't need to be part of a group for that. You don't need to be part of the in crowd for that. That is something that is just you and your garden. There's no in between, there's nothing. And it really comes from the heart at that point. And you connect with it on an emotional, mental, physical, spiritual level of that time being in your garden. So maybe what is your purpose? Working with nature, tending a garden, tending plants. That is it's a beautiful purpose to have. But what happens is a lot of times people get caught up in, I want my purpose to be glorious and grand and bigger than life itself. It's not like that for everybody. And so it's really important for you to understand where it is that what is the purpose for you that's going to bring you joy, that's going to feed your soul, that's going to bring you peace, regardless of what anybody else thinks, regardless of what anybody else says, regardless of any recognition that you have. If nobody knows what you do, nobody knows what your purpose is, and you are the only person that knows, you don't get accolades, you don't get recognition or anything, and that is enough for you, chances are you're walking in purpose. So I hope this was helpful. Tomorrow, I'm going to feature for you guys some crystals that are going to help you to kind of do that inner work, to do a deep dive into purpose, to try to understand how do I get there? I mean, how does inner work even get started? The first thing I'm going to recommend is, I recommend this to everybody. Brene Brown, one of my favorite all-time people. I was going to say people, but she's a shame and vulnerability researcher. And if you have not seen her TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability, I will definitely recommend for you to go take a look at that. I'll answer that question in 1 minute, Kimberly. I definitely recommend for you to go take a look at that. She also has a workshop, which is, to me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a guide to shadow work. And it's called The Power of Vulnerability, but it's a workshop and it's an audio book. It's not a book or anything. You have to listen to it. And it's like 6 hours long and there's 6 different chapters. So that is also my recognition. Kimberly, let's see, will tomorrow be at 2 as well? No, so for tomorrow, it's going to be at 5 p.m. Also live. And this is where all the crystals are going to be. I'm going to bring all the crystals out to you guys. So does anybody have any questions about what we talked about purpose, about connecting with yourself outside of others? Any questions about anything in that regard? And if you do, just go ahead and type them in. The other thing that I want to say while people get a chance to type things in if they want to, is that I am about to have surgery this week on Thursday, wish me luck. And I am not going to be, I'm going to have a minimum of 2 weeks downtime. My doctor says I cannot work, I cannot do anything. So there will be no live the Monday of next week and Monday the week after that. So it's going to be towards the end of May that I'm going to try to bring that back. So there's going to be no Witches In, and there's going to be no live sale for those 2 weeks that I'm in recovery. And then hopefully I will be back at the end of the month. If you are a member of the Wild Academy and you're looking for ceremonies and things like that, once again, during those 2 weeks, I'm going to, if I have any classes scheduled during that time, I'm going to have to postpone them. But during those 2 weeks, there will be really nothing for scheduled in the wild community. And then everything's going to be scheduled towards the end of the month, probably after the 20th or so. And then we're going to jam pack it at the end of the month. So just keep an eye out for that. I'm going to try to get everything scheduled this week. But anyway, I thank you all for joining me today. And I wish you all luck in finding your purpose and really connecting with your inner self. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.